50% of the talent pool just happen to be women. When we looked at some of the statistics here in Iowa, because we were focused here in Central Iowa in particular, what we saw was a gap in leadership in a lot of different places. And the question that we asked ourselves was why? And we started that conversation literally over a year and a half ago. And we've had a couple ahas along the way. And one of the ahas that we've had is, this is not a women's issue. It's not a women's issue. This is a talent issue. This is a business case issue. In some ways, this is an economic development issue. So at the principal, I'm running our U.S. operations around retirement, annuities, etc. About 4,000 employees. And one of the things I know for sure, two things I know for sure. One, we need to be able to tap into 50% of the talent pool, i.e. women. And two, and I think this is becoming more so, and I don't care whether you've got a local company, a regional company, a national company, the reality is we're all competing for talent globally anymore. We are competing for talent. And one of the things that I've seen at the principal is that when I am working with a diverse team, when I've got a diverse team broadly defined, working on a problem, working on a marketing issue, what I've seen is a lot better results. We get richer conversation, we get better outcomes, we reflect our various constituents. So I think the competitive, you talk about the competitive piece of this, it's not just a women's issue, it's a business issue.
I very seldom try to rely heavily on my notes, but I found that on this particular topic, I wanted to be more scripted than usual, because I think I have some statistics that might help make the case on why EPIC is important and why these are the right things to do. But there were four different things. One was to increase the number of women in the pipeline at all levels. Not enough just to do it at the junior level. We know how hard it is. If you don't do it at the base level, you won't get it at the most senior levels. Increasing the retention of women in management, and you can define management. Increasing female representation in the top 10% of management. And increasing the number of women on the board of directors. And if you're not a publicly traded company, what's your executive committee look like? So it's with that, when I have a 21-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old granddaughter, that for me, it is personal. And I'll do everything I can possibly do to better enable women and better enable people who don't have the same crack to get to the top of their respective organizations. It's a privilege to be here today to have the opportunity to speak to you. I apologize if it sounds like I was preaching. There's not a person in this room that doesn't have a commitment to this effort. The only thing I'm here to ask you to do is to consider those four questions that EPIC has put forward and ask that you take those back to your respective companies and see if you can't. I think one's too easy. I think two's too easy. I think four is the right number.
And so when we thought about this from our perspective, we really decided to focus our piece about this on what we call next generation leaders. So one of my fundamental beliefs is that the number one constraint to growth is available leadership talent. And that's why I think mentorship and sponsorship is so important. So for me, mentorship is this idea of the classic coaching, the encouraging, the working between dedicated partners. But sponsorship is something different. And I heard this first at the IWLC breakfast a couple of years ago, and it stuck with me. This idea that sponsorship is putting your own credibility and your own political capital on the line to help move someone else forward. And I think that's really the important part. I would bet to say that almost everyone in this room has had a sponsor at some point in time. I certainly have. Very few of us are truly self-made. So at the end of the day, I view this as a pretty critical initiative for us. Because just because we've had success in the past in developing and promoting women leaders doesn't mean that it will continue just by inertia. Furthermore, this type of diversity at the board table, the executive table, and throughout our organization makes us a better company. The diversity of thought and leadership, I thought you did a nice job talking through all those things, helps us live our mission and values better, and at the end of the day, it helps us serve our customers better. So I appreciate the opportunity for us to be a part of this EPIC challenge. I will say it gave us a little bit of the nudge forward to do something that we knew was in our best interest.
Iowa's ranked dead last. That would be 51st to be exact in the growth and clout of women entrepreneurs, according to the American Express Open Studies. I was gravely concerned, yet energized by the challenge to mobilize for change. For this is truly the Iowa way. The American Express study led me to further research that shows Iowa is also trailing in the elevation of women to leadership positions at public companies, in corporate boardrooms, and even in the legislative arena, though great strides have been made in that area of service at both the national and state levels of late. However, for me, this is not just a gender issue. Over 50% of Iowa's population is female. Women earn over 50% of higher education degrees in our state, and that is climbing. And over 80% of the women in the state are in the workforce. This isn't a gender issue, this is an economic issue. Women are simply the largest emerging market in the world. According to Ernst & Young study, by the year 2028, women will control close to 75% of all discretionary spending worldwide. To serve those customers, we must take advantage of the women leaders that are in our midst. Women as part of management teams, in the boardrooms, and among our elected officials simply change the conversation for the better. Ensuring that females are reaching their potential in the workforce ensures that companies will reach their potential as well. And we must finally address quality and compensation for women. In the boardroom, too, women make a difference, a big one. And if you put 3 women together on a board, you get fundamental change. Women bring a collaborative leadership style that benefits the entire boardroom. Better yet, those women don't shy away from controversial issues. They ask tough questions, and they demand direct and detailed answers. When women sit at the table, the perspectives of multiple stakeholders are considered, again creating economic benefits for the companies they are helping to govern. When 3 women sit on the same board, a critical mass is created, where women are no longer viewed as outsiders or only offering a woman's point of view. They become collectively and individually more influential and able to more substantially guide board discussions. Yesterday on the plane, I read an article titled, "This is what a feminist looks like," and the photo op was a young boy. It referred to a 1960s mantra, men of quality aren't intimidated by women demanding equality. Our sons are leaning in. They are among the faces of today's women's movement. So I'm encouraged, for I see hope. I know you do too desire to lean in, to see Iowa embrace this opportunity to elevate women at our companies, in the boardroom, and within our government. It will take all of us deliberately working to change the status quo, deliberately working to give women a voice. I'll let the words of Sheryl Sandberg, the CEO at Facebook, summarize my comments for today. We need women at all levels, including the top, to change the dynamic, reshape the conversation, to make sure women's voices are heard and heeded, and not overlooked and ignored. Is it the right thing to do? Yes. Is it the smart thing to do? Yes. Is it the right play economically for the state of Iowa? Hell yes. Thank you.
When this initiative was first brought to our attention, and Jeanette and I had met, and she had sent some information. I was meeting with Jerry, and we meet on a regular basis and talk about things, which you do with your board chairs. And I presented this to him. I said, well, what do you think? He looked at it for about 2 seconds. He said, why wouldn't we do this? Elevating women is of vital importance to all of us. This is a significant workforce issue that we are very much aware of at the Grade 1 Partnership. The number one concern we hear from our businesses is the ability to attract and retain top talent. Promoting, hiring, and elevating women needs to be a big part of this long-term solution within our regional workforce strategy. This is needed to make our workforce stronger and to make our region even more competitive moving forward. While advancing women is definitely an opportunity for us to underscore the importance of a progressive, innovative workforce in our region, this issue for me is much larger than the work I lead at the Grade 1 Partnership. This is an issue impacting my daughters, Charlotte and Sophie, and their futures. And as Dan said a few minutes ago, this is personal. Ensuring the best person is seated at the job seems like a no-brainer. We all know that. Today, I challenge you to think about who is on your executive team, who is on your board of directors, who is leading your organizations. Take stock of who is serving in these integral roles within your organizations and boards that you serve and represent. Do you have women in these roles? If so, are each of these women receiving the recognition, the job title, and pay that she deserves?
We know that Polk County's unemployment rate is at about 3%, meaning that workforce availability is both a bigger challenge and opportunity for our region than we've ever seen. We all know that we need to make it a priority specifically to attract and to retain women in the workplace as part of that solution. I challenge you today to join us in our efforts to do just that. We need to help spread the word that Greater Des Moines offers a culture that is female and family friendly. Today, I ask you, what kind of impact do we want to make for our region and state? How do we want to solve our workforce shortage? How do we want to continue to gain more national and international rankings and awards? The answer to each of these questions is the same. Let's take on this epic challenge. Let's advocate for women in the workforce and specifically in leadership roles. With all these rankings that we've received, we also need to be #1 in women's leadership.